Welcome to the second geography lesson for Concilium Academies. In today's lesson, we're going to be focusing on Australia's biomes. The learning objective is to explore 4 of the main biomes found within Australia. The first thing I would like you to do, on the screen in front of you, there are 12 different questions. Now you need to challenge yourself to complete one of the tasks at the top of the screen. So bronze, answer 1 question of each colour. Silver, answer 2 questions of each colour. Gold, answer 3 questions of each colour. It's up to you which one you do. There's different topics there, so there's stuff about Australia, there's a bit of human geography, a bit of coasts and rivers, and then a little bit of tectonics. Don't panic if you haven't studied any of these before, just give it your best shot and see if you can guess at some of the answers. If you get that done, there's a star challenge, and I would like you to write a question with an answer on any topic that you have already studied in geography, and then make sure you add that to your work before you email it back to your teacher. Now, if you want to pause the video now and then have a go at completing one of those tasks. Okay, so hopefully you paused the video and hopefully you've managed to complete one of those tasks. So we're going to move on. So as I said at the start, this lesson we're going to be focusing on Australia's biomes, and the learning objective is to explore 4 of the main biomes found within Australia. So we're going to do that in this way. So progress step 1, we're going to recap and define some key geographical terms. Progress step 2, we're then going to inquire into the different biomes within Australia, and then progress step 3, we're going to design an animal or plant that could survive in one of those biomes in Australia. So as a quick recap, we're just going to go through some information that were covered last lesson. So Australia is located in the southern hemisphere, so below the equator, and is the 6th largest country in the world, covering an area of 8,000 kilometers squared. It is home to 25 million people, and if you remember, that's quite small considering how big the country is, but it's down to the fact that 80% of the population live around the coast. The capital city is Canberra, and Australia is a host to a wide range of different World Heritage sites that we looked at last lesson. Now, Australia is made up of a number of different regions, and we're focusing on 8 regions in particular. So we're looking at 6 states and 2 territories, but there are other territories just around the outside of Australia and include a few islands beyond Tasmania. So what we're going to do first is we're going to watch a video, and I want you to make some bullet point notes on any new key facts or figures about Australia.
Australia. Australia is the smallest of the 7 continents, and it's entirely surrounded by water. It's also the only country in the world that covers an entire continent. At almost 3 million square miles, Australia is located below Asia in the southern hemisphere. That's how it got its nickname, the land down under. Life down under is very unusual. It can go from scorching dry temperatures to very subtropical. In the southern hemisphere, stars and constellations appear upside down and reversed compared to the northern hemisphere. This is because the Earth turns on its axis from the north to the South Pole. Even the seasons are in reverse. So get out your winter parkas in the summer and surfboards during the holidays. And you'll definitely need sunscreen if you visit one of Australia's many deserts, like the Great Victoria Desert, the largest desert in the continent. Australia's warm, sunny climate and giant open spaces make for great outdoor adventures. Ready to camp out underneath the stars in the Australian outback? On clear nights, you can see almost 3,000 stars. Want to take a dip in the ocean? There are over 1,500 species of fish that live in the Great Barrier Reef, located in the Pacific Ocean, the largest coral reef in the world. Another natural wonder can be found in the heart of the continent, Uluru, a sacred rock formation that stands 1,100 feet tall. And of course, there are some incredible animals in Australia, like kangaroos and emus that live on the coast, and the cute marsupials like koalas and wombats, and unique animals like the platypus and camels. Australia has almost 1,000 different reptile species, including some of the most dangerous snakes. Even though many of the world's deadliest species live here, Australia is home to over 24 million people, the continent's first people The Aborigines arrived in Australia about 50,000 years ago. Australia is one of the most ethnically and geographically diverse nations in the world. What an incredible place. A beautiful island. I mean, country. Wait, continent. Well, you know what I mean. All of the above. Australia.
Hopefully you managed to get a bit more information from that video there. If you didn't, you can go back and watch it again in this video, or you can go to YouTube and watch it there. So you can search Nat Geo Kids and then Australia and it'll come up quite quickly. What we're going to do now is we're going to do some keywords jigsaws. So on the screen in front of you, there are 8 pieces of a jigsaw. So we've got biome, climate, adaptation and ecosystems, then the muddled up definitions. What you need to do is you need to match up the keyword with the correct definition and write them in your book or on a piece of paper. If you get that done, there's a star challenge there as well, and what I would like you to do is I'd like you to try and write a paragraph using as many keywords as you can. Hopefully you paused the video and you've managed to match those up. We're going to move on to the answers now. So I want you to check your answers to see if you've matched the definition with the correct keyword. And if you have made any mistakes, I want you to fix those. So first up, we've got biome. This is a large ecosystem that is defined by elements such as climate or the relief of the land. So a biome is over a large area. So that's like the Amazon rainforest, the tropical rainforest there. It could be the Sahara Desert, but within that, there will be smaller ecosystems as well. Climate, so climate is the average weather conditions over a long period of time, often focusing on rain and temperature. Adaptation is a feature that shows how an animal or plant has changed to survive in its environment. So that's particular to that environment. So that would be like a camel with long eyelashes to stop the sun from getting into their eyes. So the last one there is ecosystem, and this is an environment where living and non-living things interact, for example, around a pond. So double check you've got all those right, make sure you've written them down correctly on your piece of paper or in your book. If you've done that, you can have a go at the challenge. So are there any other keywords that you think we might use in this lesson? And I want you to jot them down and see if you're right as we go on. But we're going to move on to the next bit. What I want you to do now is a bit of a progress check. So I want you to choose one of these questions and complete it in your book or on your paper. So what is the difference between climate and weather? Or what is the difference between a biome and an ecosystem? If you want, you can challenge yourself and you can have a go at answering both of those questions, but you must at least complete one. So if you pause the video here and then we'll move on in a moment. Okay, so that brings us to the end of progress step 1. We've recapped and defined some key geographical terms. What we're going to do now is inquire into the different biomes within Australia. There are many different biomes in Australia, but we're focusing on 4 in particular. So you can see the map of Australia there. We're going to focus on the deserts, the tropical rainforests, the grasslands, and the temperate forests. So we're going to look at those and we're going to see what those are like. There are other ecosystems and biomes within Australia, but these are the 4 largest and the 4 that we are going to focus on for this lesson. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at these 4 biomes. Now you need to try and challenge yourself and work through these different tasks. So at least everyone has to summarize the information in 20 words. The silver task beyond that is to draw 3 pictures to match the information, and then gold is to suggest how humans may be damaging it. The star challenge is to try and research what animals can be found in each biome. Now these questions and this information will be down the left of each of the slides we're going to look at, just to recap and refresh your memory about what you have to do. So I'm going to read through each of the slides. I'll tell you to pause at the end of it, and then I just want you to have a go at completing those tasks. Okay, so the first one we've got is deserts. So the Australian deserts make up a big part of what is known as the Australian outback. So you might have heard of that before. The largest desert in Australia, as it said in the video, is the Great Victoria Desert, which is 425,000 kilometers squared. So massive, massive desert. The average temperature of the Australian deserts is around 38 degrees Celsius, with an average annual rainfall of under 250 millimeters a year. There is very little water in the desert, so the trees and shrubs that grow here have very, very deep roots. Now, a danger point, in case you were planning on going to visit the desert, is that the tapir snake, which is the most venomous snake in the world, lives in the Australian desert alongside many other poisonous spiders and reptiles. So you need to work through the bronze, silver and gold and have a go at the challenge if you can. You can pause the video now and then we'll move on. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is tropical forests. Tropical forests of Australia are found in the northern and eastern parts of Australia in the wet coastal areas. The temperature in these regions ranges from 20 to 34 degrees centigrade and has very heavy rainfall during November to April, so the Australian summer, with a range of between 1,200 millimetres and over 8,000 millimetres of rain, so quite a substantial amount of rain, hence why some parts are more rainforest than just tropical forest. The Australian tropical forests contain over 2,700 species of plants, all which are adapted to survive in the heavy rain and warm temperatures. Now this one has quite a lot of dangers, again, if you were going to visit. So it's got leeches, ticks, 43 species of snake, and then lots of scorpions on top of that. So again, you're doing the bronze, silver and gold and then challenging yourself to do a bit of research in your own time. So if you want to pause the video here, if not, we're just going to move straight on to the next one. So next up, we've got the grasslands. So the Australian grasslands, or savanna, surround the desert regions of Australia. The temperature averages around 18 degrees centigrade and receives around 460 millimetres of rainfall a year. The Australian summer is known as the rainy season for the grasslands. Emus and kangaroos often roam the grasslands. The grasslands are a home to a vast array of different grasses and are used by humans to graze cattle. So there might be a bit of a danger there, or a bit of a conflict there between animals and the wildlife and the humans that live there. As with the other biomes, there are many different dangers of the Australian grasslands. One of them that I'm going to point out is the funnel web spider. So if you want more information on that, you can do a bit of research yourself. Again, you need to do the bronze, silver and the gold and see if you can research yourself. So if you want to pause the video here, again, if not, we'll move straight on to the next one. So next up, we've got the temperate forests. So the majority of Australia's temperate forests can be found in the east of the country, with a small section towards the northwest. Temperatures range from 12 degrees centigrade in the winter to 21 degrees centigrade in the summer. Rainfall in this biome is more seasonal and between 750 and 1,100 millimetres per year. The forests are dominated by different types of eucalyptus trees, and wildlife such as koalas and kookaburra kingfishers can be found in this biome. The danger to this area is probably humans themselves. So these areas are very, very vulnerable to deforestation, either for farmland or to be used to build houses on. So again, you need to do the bronze, silver and gold and then have a go at a bit of research if you can. So if you want to pause the video here, if not, we'll move straight on to the next section. So as a progress check, what I would like you to do is to have a go at these 5 questions. So number 1, what does adaptation mean? Number 2, what is the name of the most venomous snake in the world? Number 3, true or false, the Australian summer falls between November and April. Number 4, what is the size of Australia in kilometres squared? Number 5, what biome can emus be found in? There's a star challenge here as well, so I want you to say out of the 4 different biomes in Australia, which one do you think is the most dangerous, and then give a reason. So if you pause the video here and have a go at answering those questions. Okay, so we've done progress step 2 now, to inquire into the different biomes within Australia, and now we're moving on to progress step 3, to design an animal or plant that could survive in Australia. For this task, you need to choose one of the following activities to demonstrate your learning. And then make sure you email your work to your teacher. So green is to design an animal or plant that could survive in one of the biomes and label your diagram with its adaptations. So if you remember, an adaptation is a feature that helps it survive. The orange task, which is design an animal or plant that could survive in 2 of the biomes and write a written explanation about how it can survive, so a couple of paragraphs to go with a diagram. Or the red task, which is design an animal and a plant that survive with each other in any biome and explain how these animals and plants survive together. So a real world example would be eucalyptus and koalas. If you get that done, there is a star challenge, and I want you to create your own biome that you think you could find in Australia. So this can be completely made up. Just think about what climate you would have, what relief, and any other features that you would expect to find. So if you want to pause the video here and then have a go at completing one of those. Okay, so hopefully you've managed to complete one of those tasks. So what we've done in this lesson is we've looked at Australia's biomes, and hopefully you should have got a bit of information about 4 of the main biomes. So we've recapped and defined some key geographical terms, we've inquired into the different biomes within Australia, and then you've designed an animal or plant, or potentially both, that could survive in Australia. So the last thing I would like you to do is linkages. So you need to choose one of the tasks below to show your learning from this lesson. So whichever task you choose, make sure you write a couple of sentences for it. So you've got bronze, which is linked today's lesson to 1 other topic you've studied in geography. Silver, linked today's lesson to 2 other topics you've studied in geography. Or gold, linked today's lesson to 3 other topics in geography and then 1 from another subject. So maybe without going into one of the humanities subjects, try and challenge yourself to something like science or something beyond that. Once you're done, what I would like you to do is to make sure that you email all of your work to your teacher so your teacher can give you a little bit of feedback on it.